Welcome to the realm of myths and legends. This channel brings to life the most captivating stories from ancient mythology. From the heroic deeds of Greek demigods to the tragic fates of misunderstood monsters. Whether you're drawn to the wisdom of Athena, the rage of Zeus, or the sorrow of Medusa, here you'll uncover tales that shaped civilizations and continue to inspire us today. Immerse yourself in dramatic retellings, deep symbolism, and timeless themes of love, war, betrayal, and destiny. Subscribe and journey with us through the epic world of gods, heroes, and legends. In the shadows of ancient myth, a name whispers through time: Medusa. Once a woman of breathtaking beauty, now a symbol of terror and power. What cursed her gaze? What secrets lie behind the serpents in her hair? Tonight, we unveil the untold truth behind the legend. In the vast world of Greek mythology, filled with powerful gods, tragic heroes, and mythical beasts, few figures are as haunting and fascinating as Medusa. With snakes for hair and a gaze that could turn men to stone, Medusa stands out as both a terrifying monster and a deeply misunderstood character. Medusa was one of the three Gorgon sisters, Athena, Euryale, and Medusa. Unlike her sisters, who were immortal, Medusa was mortal. This distinction would ultimately shape her tragic fate. The Gorgons were often described as hideous and fearsome creatures with scaly skin, tusks like boars, and bronze hands. But Medusa was originally different. She was known for her stunning beauty, her flowing hair, and her radiant face that even the gods admired. Her story is one of transformation, not just physical, but symbolic, and it raises timeless questions about beauty, punishment, power, and fear. Before she became the feared creature known from legends, Medusa was a maiden whose destiny would become entangled with divine jealousy, human heroism, and eternal myth. Before she became a feared monster, Medusa was a stunningly beautiful maiden. According to one version of the myth, she was a priestess of Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom and war. As a priestess, Medusa was sworn to a life of chastity and devotion. She served in Athena's temple, which was a sacred place where no impure act was allowed. Medusa's beauty, however, drew attention from mortals and gods alike. Among those who desired her was Poseidon, the god of the sea, overcome by lust or driven by rivalry with Athena. Poseidon violated Medusa inside the temple of the goddess herself. This act of desecration of a holy place enraged Athena. But instead of punishing Poseidon, the god, she punished Medusa, whether out of jealousy, a need to preserve divine order, or to reinforce the sacred vows of priesthood. Athena transformed Medusa into a monstrous creature. Her beautiful hair was turned into venomous snakes. Her radiant face was twisted into a hideous mask. From that moment on, anyone who looked directly at her would be turned to stone. This version of the myth is deeply symbolic. It reflects how beauty can become dangerous, how victims can be punished instead of their aggressors, and how divine wrath can alter the fate of mortals forever. Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom, was unforgiving in her pursuit of divine order and discipline. After Medusa was defiled in her temple, Athena's rage was swift and merciless. Whether motivated by a desire to uphold the sanctity of her temple, to assert her power over Poseidon, or by deeper divine politics, she cast a terrible punishment upon Medusa. With a mere glance, Athena cursed the once beautiful maiden. Medusa's long, flowing hair became a writhing mass of venomous serpents. Her soft skin turned to scales, her gaze became a weapon. No longer could she look into the eyes of others without petrifying them. The transformation was not only physical, it symbolized her fall from grace, her isolation from humanity, and the injustice of divine wrath. Banished from the world of mortals, Medusa fled to a remote land far from civilization. She made her home in a desolate cave, surrounded by the bones of those who had come too close and met her fatal gaze. There, she lived in exile, a living paradox, a victim turned into a monster, feared and hated by the world. As years passed, Medusa faded into legend. Few dared approach her lair, and fewer still returned. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, immortal and monstrous, joined her in exile. Together, the three Gorgons became symbols of primal terror, embodiments of chaos, fear, and punishment. Despite her cursed form, Medusa retained traces of her former self. Some versions of the myth suggest she felt sorrow and loneliness. Others portray her as wrathful and vengeful. But most agree that she defended herself only against those who sought to kill her. Her snake hair hissed with alertness. Her eyes, deadly and watchful, guarded her solitude. Warriors, adventurers, and glory seekers from across the Greek world tried to defeat her, tempted by the challenge and the hope of fame, but none succeeded. Each one ended as a silent statue, frozen in fear. Medusa became more than a monster. She was a legend, feared, misunderstood, and isolated, not only because of her power, but because of the mystery surrounding her. The turning point in Medusa's myth arrives with the hero Perseus, son of Zeus and Athena. Perseus was tasked with an impossible quest to bring back the head of Medusa, King Polydex, who wanted to rid himself of Perseus, sent him on this deadly mission, expecting him never to return. But Perseus had help. The gods favored him. Athena, perhaps seeking closure to her own story with Medusa, and Hermes, the messenger god, aided him. Athena gave him a reflective shield. Hermes lent him a sword sharp enough to cut through anything. Additionally, Perseus received a magical satchel kibisis to carry the head and the helmet of invisibility from Hades. Armed with divine gifts, Perseus sought the Graeae, three ancient sisters who shared one eye and one tooth. By stealing their eye, he forced them to reveal the way to the Gorgon's lair. With guidance, weapons, and determination, Perseus embarked on a mission that would etch his name into legend and bring a tragic end to Medusa's tale. Perseus, armed with divine tools and guided by prophecy, set out toward the edge of the known world, a place where the Gorgons dwelled. The journey was perilous, filled with landscapes twisted by magic and darkness. Few mortals had ever dared venture so far. The lair of the Gorgons was a desolate land, lifeless and bleak. The air was still, and statues of warriors, once bold and living, stood frozen in terror. The silence was haunting. Medusa and her sisters slept in the depths of their stone sanctuary, unaware that fate was approaching. To avoid meeting Medusa's deadly gaze, Perseus used Athena's reflective shield as a mirror. By looking only at her reflection, he could see her without turning to stone. Silently, he crept through the cave, his sword drawn, heart pounding. One precise strike was all it would take. In the darkness of the cave, Perseus approached the sleeping Medusa. Her serpent stirred, sensing a presence, but her eyes remained closed. Using the mirrored shield, Perseus aligned himself for the perfect strike. With a swift and clean motion, he swung his sword and severed Medusa's head. At the moment of her death, a miraculous event occurred. From her blood sprang two beings, Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a warrior with a golden sword. These were the children of Poseidon, conceived when he violated her. The Gorgon sisters awoke in rage. Stheno and Euryale screamed, shaking the earth. but Perseus had already placed the head into the magical satchel and slipped on the helmet of invisibility. Hidden from view, he escaped the lair and began his journey home, with the head of the feared Medusa in his possession. From Medusa's death came new life. Pegasus, the winged horse, soared into the skies, becoming a symbol of freedom and inspiration. Chrysaor, the golden warrior, disappeared into later myths. But both represented the hidden power within Medusa. Even in death, she gave birth to greatness. Perseus's journey continued with the head of Medusa as his ultimate weapon. He used it to rescue Princess Andromeda from a sea monster, turning the beast to stone. He also used it to punish King Polydex, turning the cruel king and his men into statues. Eventually, Perseus gave the head of Medusa to Athena. The goddess placed it on her shield, the Aegis, using its petrifying power as a symbol of divine justice. Medusa's face, once feared and hated, now adorned the shield of a goddess, a lasting symbol of protection, vengeance, and power. Medusa's head lived on long after her death. Affixed to Athena's shield, it became a powerful emblem in warfare. Many Greek warriors believed the Aegis brought victory in battle, not only because of Athena's strength, but because of the terror inspired by Medusa's eternal gaze. Artists, sculptors, and poets across generations depicted the Gorgon's head as both protective and terrifying. Over time, Medusa's face appeared on armor, coins, and temple decorations. She evolved from a cursed figure into a symbol of warning, protection, and fierce female power. Though her life ended in tragedy, her image endured, a reminder of the injustice she suffered and the strength she represented. Medusa's story has transcended mythology. Over the centuries, she has come to represent much more than a monster. Feminist thinkers see in her tale the tragedy of victim blaming, the distortion of beauty, and the silencing of women. Artists have reimagined her as both villain and victim, goddess and guardian. In literature and psychology, Medusa has become a symbol of suppressed rage, trauma, and repressed power. Her gaze, once a literal weapon, now symbolizes truth that cannot be denied, fear that must be confronted. Medusa lives on in modern culture, in books, films, fashion, and art. Her legend remains haunting not because she was a monster, but because she was made into one.